Hello and welcome to the Haley Daily. I am so thrilled to be sharing my love for food, design, and gathering friends around the table with you. My husband Jaime and I are in this beautiful cabin in Broken Bow, Oklahoma for our early Valentine's Day retreat. So for dinner, what's better than a perfect pair? Tonight we're going to be making a super rich and creamy homemade tomato basil soup and a ooey gooey grilled cheese sandwich. Simple, classic, and made with love. So let's get started. I have already set my oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And so while that's heating up, we're gonna get started with these tomatoes. You'll need about 9 to 10 Roma tomatoes, and we're just gonna slice them in half down the length of them. It's like this. And we're gonna start laying them out on a cookie sheet covered in foil, face up. Just kind of get them as close together as you need to in order to make them fit on your cookie sheet. If you can only fit 9, that's okay. 9 or 10 is good. Then you will need about 4 to 5 cloves of garlic. I have already peeled mine, and I'm just going to kind of place them on the pan wherever so they can roast along with the tomatoes. Just like that. So now you're gonna take a little bit of olive oil and just drizzle it over the cut tomatoes. Measure with your heart. And then take a little bit of salt. And then some ground black pepper. And then we're gonna put these in the oven for an hour to roast. So we are going to wait for those to heat, but in the meantime, we're gonna heat a couple of tablespoons of oil or butter on the stove at medium-high heat, and then prepare our onion. So you will need a large yellow onion. Just going to chop the onion. Doesn't have to be too small because we are going to be blending it into the soup. But you'll need the entire onion. And we're going to add this into our pot of oil and then let it saute for about 5 minutes, or just until the onions are translucent. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of fresh thyme to our pot of onions. Now I'm gonna take about a cup of chopped fresh basil and add that into the pot. Doesn't have to be anything special, just roughly chopped. You just need about a cup of it. Now I'm going to take this and add it to the pot. Give that a nice little stir. So the next thing you will need is a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. We're going to add that straight into the pot. Next you'll need a teaspoon of granulated sugar, and then a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. Give it a stir. So the tomatoes are finished in the oven, so we're gonna pull those out and then set them aside. So the next thing you'll need is 2 cups of chicken stock. 1, 2. So we will let this simmer for about 10 minutes, and then we will add our tomatoes and our garlic. The tomatoes are ready to be added to the soup, so we're just going to drop these in. Just gonna pull it off the stove for this part. And then we'll take our immersion blender and then put this directly into the pot and blend it until it's the consistency that we like. So it is finally nice and smooth. And I'm going to pop this right back onto their stove over low heat so it can simmer for a little longer while we make our grilled cheese. And then we'll add the cream to this and everything will be ready to go. Now we're gonna get started on the grilled cheese while our soup is continuing to simmer. I feel like the key to a good grilled cheese is good bread. This is fresh sourdough bread from the bakery. I personally think sourdough bread is the best bread of choice when making a grilled cheese because it adds a little bit of that tang, which I think pairs so nicely with the cheesiness of the grilled cheese. Next, you'll need butter for the pan, trust me, and mayonnaise. So on the outsides of the bread, I'm going to put a layer of mayonnaise. Trust me, I feel like the mayonnaise directly on the bread instead of the butter gives it that nice brown crunchy texture that we love in a grilled cheese. And if you want to add a little extra something to this, you can flip them over and add just a little bit of Dijon mustard to the inside of one piece of bread. I'm going to flip these over in preparation for our cheese. So for this grilled cheese, I like to use two different kinds of cheese. I like to use a Gruyere cheese along with a white cheddar. I just feel like the pair of them together is so delicious and they melt really, really well. But you can use any cheese that melts well. Another trick for making a good grilled cheese is to use grated cheese. You're just gonna wanna grate enough cheese to give a nice heap on each of the sandwiches. So we have our grated cheese. On just two of the breads, we are going to add our cheese. There can never be too much cheese. Then I'm gonna take this and with the mayonnaise side up, just top each of the sandwiches. And then we're going to transfer them to our butter skillet. I'm gonna melt just enough butter to cover the entire skillet. And then just set them side by side. The key here is to go low and slow. You wanna have your burner set to nothing higher than a medium-low heat, because if the bread starts to brown before the cheese melts, then you risk having a not very melty grilled cheese. So our grilled cheeses are nice and toasty and ooey gooey in the middle. Got these cute little bowl and trays for our soup and sandwich combo. And now that our grilled cheeses are done, I'm gonna go ahead and add 2/3 cup of heavy cream to our soup to give it that nice rich creaminess. And if you wanted to finish this off with a little extra something, you could make some homemade croutons. But I'm not gonna do that today since we are using our grilled cheese as our croutons in this. And now for the best part is plating. So I like to cut my grilled cheeses at a little bit of a diagonal. Plate the grilled cheese. Just, ooh, you see that? Just like that. And there you have it, a homemade creamy tomato basil soup and a grilled cheese.